Hey, preschool peeps.
Hi, peeps.
We have a super exciting announcement, and we're going to clue you in on something that we've been working really, really hard on. We have been doing this podcast for a number of years. Allison, you are the timekeeper. How many years?
It's been 4 years. We just had our 4-year anniversary.
4 years. So for 4 years, if you go back to episode 1 and you listen straight through, as I know some of you have, you will realize that in that 4 years, we've done a lot of things to learn and grow. We have learned more about podcasting. We have changed equipment. We have done and used different software pieces. We have done all sorts of things. And we want to continue to learn, improve, and offer more to you. We want to expand this community without changing anything that exists. So the podcast that exists that you listen to for free once a week, the website that exists that you can log into and gain all kinds of information, that's all staying. We wanted to figure out a way to expand that for you and a way that we can add more because we've got quite the community going here.
Yeah. Yes, we
You
do.
all just are not connected to each other. We wanted to connect you to each other. We wanted to be able to offer more. But of course, in order to do that and continue to upgrade, that takes time and money. So we did some research. We were like, how do podcasters do this? And we discovered how. One way that many podcasters do it is through a software called Patreon. Patreon is a platform that creators use not only to support their work, but also to provide benefits to listeners. So we're really excited about it. We have launched a page on Patreon that Allison is going to tell you a little bit about now, and then we will tell you how to get there.
All right. So for as little as $5 a month, you can become a patron of How Preschool Teachers Do It podcast. On that Patreon, you will see that we are offering 4 tiers of membership, each with different and increasing benefits, starting with like bonus content that you wouldn't normally see otherwise, to a messaging community, which I am very excited about, to merchandise that you can get, and much, much more. The Patreon kind of links you not only to us, but to your fellow peeps. So you get to kind of network with people
depending
who are
what level they're at. Right?
Yeah, depending on what level you're at. So if you want to be a part of that networking, check out the different benefits to each tier and choose the one that best fits you. But like Cindy said, what exists already is there and is staying. It's just, you might, if you want a little bit more and a little bit more networking and a little bit more merchandise or something cool like that, go check out the Patreon. It's like you can give up like 1 or 2 coffees a week and be in there in the network. So it makes our
maybe
work
even less.
bigger.
You know, for
Or
as
even
little
less.
as
Yeah, I don't even know what
$5.
coffee costs now.
Yeah. For as little as $5 a month, you can be a patron.
Yeah.
And each tier has different benefits. We started it at $5 a month because we know you're all underpaid. And we wanted to give you a chance to support and to be supported and through bonus content. It starts with the bonus content and then works its way up through different levels of connection with people. So, you know, whatever you can do will be helpful to us. And through that, we can further grow and help you. Go to patreon.com. It's patreon.com/How Preschool Teachers Do It. Find our landing page. We have 4 tiers for you to examine, think about, and sign up for. And we hope that you will become one of our patrons and we'll be shouting your name out in the future.
Yeah.
Thanks, peeps.
Thank you.
Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide. Hi, preschool peeps.
Hi, peeps.
We know that this episode is going to release in the beginning of August, and that some of you start the beginning of a school year during August. So we wanted to talk about something that's relevant to the beginning of a school year especially, And we don't always get this topic out in time for everybody. This year we really thought ahead.
We're thinking ahead, guys.
Right? Thought ahead.
Yeah.
It's a topic that we've talked about before, but not in this way. The topic is separation anxiety, something that children struggle with, is very typical for the age, and we really should expect it in early learners. The children who don't come to us with separation anxiety, well, good for them, but it's not the average. It's not what's typical. We need to just expect that they're going to arrive with the separation anxiety and be ready for it.
Yeah.
Right? I think that many people might agree with the statement that when families bring children, say goodbye to them, because they should never ever sneak out, say goodbye to them, and then leave, the children calm down faster than maybe if parents linger. A lot of people, many people, have agreed with that in conversations that I've had with early learners, that they'll say things like, the families just need to go and let me deal with it and trust me because the child will be calmer sooner and all that.
Yeah.
So you may be wondering, where's the dilemma? And I'll tell you where the dilemma is. The dilemma is in what our ethical codes tell us we're supposed to do and what our obligations are. The National Association for the Education of Young Children's Code of Ethical Conduct and Statement of Commitment, which you can find in the listener resources on our website in case you want to read the whole thing, has certain statements that have me say, oh, wait a minute, Cindy, that thing you did years ago as a classroom teacher and even as a school director, when you told families, no, just go, go, trust me, it's going to be better, has to be handled in a different way than, let's say, I handled it.
Right.
Here, and I'll admit it, I think it's important when you're in the position of hosting a podcast like this to be able to say, it's true. Tell your truth. And my truth is I did what many of you do. And as somebody who now teaches a course in early childhood ethics, I get this little ping in my gut every time I teach this part. I know.
Well, I also know it's still going on. Like that's.
Oh yeah.
Because it does
because
work.
There is, and you know what? There
work.
Is truth. There's truth to it.
There's absolute truth to it.
100% there's truth, but here's the dilemma. Ready? This is from our ethical codes. And if you're on YouTube and you see me looking over, it's because I'm looking at the source. So it says a few things. There are a few principles and ideals in the ethical code. Ideal I-2.6 to acknowledge families' child-rearing values and their right to make decisions for their children. That would be considered having to do with their child rearing and their right to make decisions. Here's another one. Principle 2.1, P-2.1. We shall not deny family members access to their child's classroom or program setting unless access is denied by court order or other legal restriction.
And
you can't tell them not to stay because the court didn't order it. Ideal 1.4, to appreciate the vulnerability of children and their dependence on adults. I'd like to add especially their family. And finally, ideal 1.12, to work with families to provide a safe and smooth transition as children and families move from one program to the next, which in early childhood to a child, it's not just moving from one school to the next. It's 1 year's program to the next year's program, right?
And that's usually when you get the most separation anxiety is even if the child has been in the school for a few years, it's a new classroom that they're going into with new people. So the separation anxiety pops up then. So we need to provide a better transition for them.
So these statements basically indicate that we cannot look at families and say, no, go. We can't say you can't come in. We can't say go. We can't say you can't have access to the classroom.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I think there's truth to the fact that the children, some of them anyway, it's harder for them when their parents hang out.
It absolutely is. And because I feel like
And
in
by
the
parents,
child's mind,
I
go
just
ahead.
want to interrupt for 1 second and say by parents, I mean their significant adult. I'm using it as a
They're
catch-all.
family members.
Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead. I'm sorry, Allison.
they're adults. Um, I think in the child's mind, when they're like, "Oh, my person is staying here, there must be something wrong." That's what I get that. And then when they leave, then the child is like, "Okay, I can figure this out maybe on my own. I don't know, or
I,
I'm going to rely on the adults that are here," and that builds this trust with the adults that are in the room.
for me, I think that's more it. I think it's more the
Yeah,
transference of trust. I
yeah,
don't know if the children are thinking there must be something wrong here and that's why you're hanging out.
yeah,
Maybe they're thinking, I'm going to cry because I don't want you to go. And I know you're going
yeah.
to go, and that
You're
gives
gonna
me
go.
anxiety.
Yeah,
So I think we need something that meets in the middle. And I'd like to offer everyone a chance to think about that with some ideas of
yeah,
what sort of meets in the middle, right?
yeah,
Um, because again, I think that everyone here, everybody involved has the children's best interests at heart.
right.
And I did all those years when I said, no, really, go sit in your car, go
Yeah,
sit in our lobby, go sit somewhere else, and I will let you know how they're doing, but your child will cry less. And I think that we
yeah.
still need, you may disagree, Allison, but I think that we still need to tell families that in some way that doesn't
No,
feel so forceful.
I do think that because I think it's the only way to really start the child trusting the adults is to have the significant other adults leave. Otherwise, it's like this limbo in between the two,
It's
you
also really
know?
hard for the other children. It's
And the
hard
other
to get your
children.
class
Yeah.
started. I remember
Yes.
being a director and have teachers tell me, oh my gosh, this parent is still hanging out. And there were times when I said, there's nothing I can do about that. We have an
Right.
open
But
door,
it's like,
right? We have an open door policy. And the teacher would say, well, I can't get the day started.
well,
And I would say
because
to the
then,
teacher, just start it. Just go, just start
right.
it. Just gather
But
the children and start it.
it's hard. It's really hard. And then you can't establish the routine of your classroom, which might help that child who's having separation anxiety get into that routine. But you can't really get into the routine because you have these adults that are staying in the room. And I know
What if
it's,
we were to say to the adults, listen, this is our routine? And we tell
yeah,
them the routine. At this time, we're
yeah,
going to do this. At this time, we're going to do that. If you're going to be in the room, you must
right.
participate in the
You're going
routine
to
with your
participate.
child.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
You can't sit over in the corner with them.
right.
Um, they can, if their child is putting up a fuss and won't sit with everybody else, even with their family member, they can take them out in the hallway if they would like. But my routine is going to keep going.
Going. Yeah,
Um, and I can understand how crying children can be very challenging to keep that routine going. Like,
yeah,
I get it. Like I said, maybe it would help to say to families, if you're going to linger, if you're going to hang, if you're
yeah,
going to stay, if you're going to stay for a while, here's our routine. At
yeah.
9:15, we're starting our large group time. Our large group time lasts up to 10 minutes. After
Mm.
large group, we're going to do free playtime. You need to participate in all these times of day
And
with
all
your
these
child
things.
for as
Yeah,
long as you stay.
yeah.
And I honestly think that would discourage some
People
families from
from
staying.
staying. That's true.
I have to tell you that if you said to me, okay, here's our schedule. At 9:15, we're starting large group time.
And you're going to
And
have to
then
sing
we're
and
going to
dance with
free
us?
play. Right. And you're going to have to participate. I
Yeah,
think I would have said to my child, okay, listen, I'm going to stay with you until they start your circle time or your large group time.
yeah,
Then
yeah.
I'm going to say goodbye and I'm going to go. It even
Right.
gives the parent that idea. And if the longer the teacher postpones starting the day, the longer the family's going to stay.
Yeah, yeah,
So I would have definitely, and I'm not everybody, but I would have definitely said to my child, okay, when your teacher starts circle time, I'm going to say goodbye and I'm
yeah,
going to leave you with your teacher and I'm going to go so that your day can start. And in my head as the adult, if I know that's 9:15, then I can have a routine for between when I bring the child and that 9:15
right.
with my
Right.
child. You need a
Yeah,
ritual. Parents need
Yeah.
a ritual, right? So I would start my ritual. We would hang up the coat. We would find your favorite toy. We would play for a few minutes. I might look at a book with you, and then it's going to be circle time, and I'm going to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So help families set up a ritual.
Yeah. Oh, I think
think
the rituals are key. The
I do
routine and
too.
ritual is key, you know,
That's
because then
how
the
the
child
children
knows,
measure
like,
time.
okay, yeah, they measure
Yeah.
time, and they're like, okay, my person does this, and then I go to school. You know what I mean? And that's it. It's then they know what to expect every single day. You got to
Right.
be really consistent, and you got to do the same thing every single day. So whatever works for you and your child, figure that out and do that every single day.
I think if you have a ritual like that, you have to really think about what's the timing of my ritual. How long does it take me to get through this ritual? And therefore,
Yeah.
when do I need to arrive in this
Yes.
classroom so that I can go through my whole ritual
Yeah.
and say goodbye just before large group time starts?
Yes. Yes.
One of the challenges for children is when we set up these rituals of here's what happens. We go in, we hang up my coat, we find my favorite toy, they look at a book with me, and then they go. When we
Yeah.
are rushed, unfortunately, sometimes people are late, and when we're rushed and we don't do each of those steps, it really throws the child
Throws
off.
everything off. Yes.
I also think that ritual should be practiced before the start of the school year. Here's what it's going to be
Yeah.
like. We're going to do this. Let's do it. We're going to do that. Let's do it. We're going to do this.
Yes.
Let's do it. And then I'm going to say goodbye and I'm going to go. And I'm
Yeah.
going to leave you with your teachers.
Yeah.
And you can go to them when you're upset. They'll help you.
Yeah, because I think practice makes it like more formulated in their mind of like, this is something that we do. We do
Right.
this all the time, you know, and now we're just doing it in a different setting. We're doing it at school, or we're doing that in my new classroom. Like, this is just what we do, you know, that has all stayed the same.
Okay, so we're encouraging. First thing you're going to do if you're a professional listening to this, first thing you're going to do is encourage the family to set up a ritual and practice it, and
Yep.
and inform them that they can't sneak out. They have to say goodbye to their children, wish them a nice day, and go when the ritual is over, if that's what they choose to do. Now, not every family is going to do that.
Right.
The families, according to our ethics, have the right to stay for that circle time and that free choice time or whatever comes after it, or that small group time, or that read aloud. So we are going to let the families know, if you choose to stay with your child, then you have to participate in our routines with your child. Thank you and good day.
I know, because if we're telling the families that they have to keep with their routines, then we as the teachers need to keep in our routines. And if our routine is large group time starts at 9:15, then we need to start it at 9:15.
Valid.
Right? So whether you are here or not, we are starting.
We are starting. That's another thing. That's another thing. How many teachers have told me, well, I wait until the majority of my children are here to start. No, 9:15. We are starting 9:15, or whatever your appointed time is. Whatever your time is. That's how you teach people to be on time, because their child will miss something.
Yes.
We teach people how to treat us.
Yeah. I've had parents walk in the middle of large group time and be like, oh, you didn't wait? Like, nope, sorry, had to start the day. And then I guarantee you the next day they were there at 9:10.
There you go. There you go. You know, COVID-19, one of the things that we learned during COVID-19 was that programs that suddenly now have drop-off rather than families coming in.
Yeah.
You know, they report that there's less separation anxiety, and there may still be programs maintaining that drop off. So they may be listening to this episode thinking, okay, our families don't come in at all. Now what?
Yeah.
You still have to encourage the routine, the ritual with the families. Tell them, please don't just plop your child in a car seat, run to us, and have us grab them out the side.
Yeah.
You need to have a ritual.
You still need to say goodbye to them.
You need to say goodbye.
Because I've seen that. Where they're like, just take them and they run off. You know?
See ya.
See ya.
You need to also have a ritual for when you're going to leave in the morning, what you're going to do in the car.
Yes.
I would even encourage the same route every day, in case you're unaware of that, or you have multiple choices for routes, because the children, if they can look out the windows, should see the same things every day, so that they understand when they start to understand when they're getting closer.
They're getting closer to the school.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say we do what the ethical code tells us to do. The family member stays like all day, every day. I think one of the things that we need to let families know in the beginning also is that they can stay, right? You can stay and help with this transition with your child. And together, we will come up with goals and a transition plan
Yeah.
to help to phase you out so
Yeah.
that your child can celebrate their independence.
Right. Because then the child, I mean, say you're staying all day, the child's like, okay, school is a place where I go, but my parents stay here, and that's not what school is. So yeah, you almost need to like wean off of this, like hour by hour if need be, So
We need a transition
yeah,
plan. But the families need to know right up front if that's your policy. The
yeah,
policy is you can come, you can stay. We have an open door. Whatever your policy is, right? You can come.
yeah,
You can stay with your crying child. I know some programs who, even when families weren't technically allowed in, if the child was really struggling, they allowed that parent in during
yeah,
COVID-19
yeah.
with certain parameters, with the temperature taking and the mask and
And the
maybe proof of
masks.
vaccine. I don't know. But they had certain parameters by which they could let people in, and they chose to let in the family members of the children who were struggling with separation anxiety, which is
Yeah,
really very kind and good, and they
that is
should.
very kind. Yes.
So you can also consider that, by the way, if you're a drop-off program and the family says, listen, you grabbing my screaming child from the car seat every day is giving me
It's
anxiety.
not
It's not working.
working. Yeah.
See if you can make an exception and let that family member in
Yeah.
to be with
Yeah.
their child. Because that probably would help that child rather than being hoisted out of a car seat by someone they barely know.
Yeah.
Um, so up front, they need to know. Our practice is that we support your rights as parents and we support our open door policy, but we also, not but, and I try to always replace but with
And we also value children's independence.
their burgeoning independence, their growing
Yes.
independence. We want to encourage that. We want them to feel competent and capable. So we will work with you on a plan that
Yep.
helps you to phase out so that your child can celebrate their independence, because
Yeah.
that's really what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
They need to know that they are capable, that we respect their autonomy. And, I really think another thing about families staying, one of the messages that the children gets is that we don't think that they can do it. We don't think they're
Yeah.
capable. Because why
Yeah.
would I stay if I thought my child could do it?
Right. Right.
Right?
And maybe that could be part of your routine. I'm going to leave you here now because you can do it. You're going to have a great day. You're going to learn a lot of things. You're going to make a lot of friends. And this is where I leave you to do it, and you could say that to them every single day and build their confidence that way.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. All right. So before we talk about which countries and states have hit the top of our listeners or among the top of our listeners this week, I want to just repeat a couple of those statements from the ethical code to keep them fresh in your mind. Just a couple. To acknowledge families' child rearing values and their right to make decisions for their children. That's part of the code we may go back to in other offerings from this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we shall not deny family members access to their child's classroom or program setting unless access is denied by court order or other legal restriction.
It happens.
Why were they denied access during lockdown sort of time frame during COVID-19? Legal restriction.
Yeah.
It was part of the
It was
regulations.
executive order.
It was an executive
in
order.
States. Yeah.
I don't know that it is anymore
It's
in
not
every
anymore, I
state.
don't
So
think.
people who are hanging on to we don't let families in at all anymore may be in violation of their other regulations at this point.
True. That's true. Yeah.
You can still decide whatever drop-off and pickup system you want,
Yeah.
but
you should at least
you can't
allow
deny
them
them access
Yeah.
unless there's an executive order in place or a regulation.
Or, yeah.
Something like that. Okay. Okay, down to the listeners. We'll start with round the world. Should we start with round the world?
Yeah.
Okay, round the world. In the top 3 this week, the United Kingdom, particularly England in first place, Scotland in second place.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. And my sister just visited England. I'm gonna ask her if
did
she had
she?
any influence. She did.
Maybe she was
I'm
like
gonna
a
ask her if
walking
she
billboard for us.
I doubt it. I sincerely and truly doubt it. She has her own life going on, but
Yeah.
ironically, my sister was just in England. But yeah, England, which really makes me so happy because my understanding is that the Duchess of Cambridge does a lot of work having to do with early learners. So it makes me so happy that
makes
people
me
in England are
happy.
following us.
Yeah, that makes me happy.
Right?
Okay.
Truly respect the work she's doing there. And I'm so glad you found us. If any of you would like to contact the Duchess and let her know.
Let her know.
Let her know that you love our podcast. That would make us so happy.
So happy. We might have to make an exception to the guest rule if she wants to come on.
I know. Okay. Yeah. I'm not really good at the etiquette, but it's not your honor. That's a judge. Your Royal Highness.
Your Royal Highness. Yeah.
Your Royal Highness is welcome. Okay.
Yes.
The state. Everybody now is like, okay, are they almost done gushing over the state?
Because it's not the first time we've gushed over the royal family on this podcast. We could probably have a whole nother podcast based on that.
Maybe.
But hey, you guys love us. It's fine. Anyway.
Yeah. The state that is in the tops this week, finally in our area, Pennsylvania.
Yay. This is a state that I just visited last weekend, guys, and it was beautiful.
There's a much higher chance that you were walking around talking about the podcast than my sister in London.
It's true. I went to a friend's wedding, and I did mention my podcast at the table I was at. Hi, everybody who was there. So maybe it just spread that way. I don't know. But I was there, and it was lovely. I visited beautiful state parks there. You have a beautiful state park system, Pennsylvania.
Nice.
So,
very nice.
Yeah.
All right. So anybody who knows Alison, hey, thank you. And spread the word, people. You want to stay in the tops.
Yeah.
All right. You will catch us next time on the podcast. And I hope you come up with that plan and that policy and let families know how it's going to roll out.
Yeah.
All right. Catch you next time, peeps.
Bye, peeps.